married in Prescott, and when we returned from maybe the wildest introduction a young woman ever had to a new society, spending 10 days on the Indian reservation with a single sleeping bag and a coffee pot and a new husband. I had been indoctrinated into life in the West with a vengeance. Having children, having a family business, and having the family business involved in the life of the town, the ladies of the town came to call on me, as was the custom, in their hats and gloves and calling cards, and I didn't have a silver tray to put the calling cards on, but they'd ended up on a little table in my hallway in the apartment where I lived. And they said, we need a new library, we want you to help us, and we have a Girl Scout Council, and we would like you to be on that.
Whiskey Row still had prostitution, right?
Oh, by all means. I was very young and very naive and would have not been exposed to that practice or engagement or whatever one would call it. But I worked for a doctor's office, and he was a city health officer and was required. Prostitution was illegal, but it was not. The prohibition was not recognized in Yavapai County, alcohol as well. So the doctor was required by the city to invite these ladies to his office every month. And that's when I was first exposed to this business of prostitution. And it's amazing to me, small town, the wife of the partner of a former mayor was the madam.
Oh my.
Not typical in my life, or my view. One thinks of a madam by reading novels or other kinds of fanciful stories, but this woman just looked like a regular Arizona Prescott matron. Young and very good looking, with a little white poodle on her arm. I think maybe one of the earliest involvements was my husband's uncle, who was the sheriff, creating the rodeo. He had to make a lot of people aware that there was something to be done to organize in 1888 the first rodeo, to make it worth doing as a contest among the people who were prevalent in our population at the time. But the sheriff was quoted as saying, we had to create a game for them to play on weekends to keep them from shooting up the town. And this was typical of this center of ranching activity in the from the 1860s on. But this community rebuilt itself in the summer of 1900. And within 2 years, the major buildings downtown, which exist today, were constructed. And we've only lost a few of them. And it was losing a major building, which is now the site of a county law enforcement building. That major building was, first of all, a meeting place for the state territorial legislature, for the capital of the state, for the county, and the city also had offices at one time in the first building on that site, which was then remodeled to make a high school. And there was that high school building, which was demolished to make way for the county law enforcement building, which caused people to say, what can we do? Internationally, for a long period of time, historic preservation tourism was a major source of income for many, many locations. It happens now that we volunteers, ahead of the game, created open space activities 30 years ago, and now ecotourism is the biggest international producer of income for any locale. Just celebrated the 100th anniversary,
Right.
1916, of that construction, and the idea that a local quarry of granite, this particular blue granite is among the hardest rock in the universe. It's not as hard as marble, but very close. It has a certain mineral name I can't recall at the moment. But that building was replaced an earlier Victorian brick building. It's the most distinctive, and because we volunteers, we people who care about history, sometimes more than our elected officials, have managed to keep that building intact and now celebrate its amazing quality. That over the years, a good friend, personal friend, has been Sandra Day O'Connor. For other reasons, Sandra's family had a summer place at Iron Springs, and even when she was in the court, she spent August in Prescott. When she was a young woman attorney, I think the highest in her class at Stanford Law,
Right.
she couldn't get a job in Phoenix in a law firm. Her husband could.
Terrible.
Sandra could not. She took a job in the state attorney's office. And at the time, my husband and I were both on state boards, and she was our staff attorney. She would come to our meetings, we had lunch, we were good friends. When she played golf in August with our neighbor and skunked the mat, we often had times together.